People of the temple, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our next speaker, Janice Taylor. You may know Janice from some of the Sumerian groups, and you might even own some of her art. She is both magician and metalsmith. Janice seeks to experience, refine, and build upon the Sumerian current as a method of initiation. She is also the artist behind Cementarius, whose pieces adorn many a body and altar in our community, and is a featured vendor in our virtual marketplace. So make sure you visit and send her some love and coin. Today, she is talking to us about Babylonian magic.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My background is actually Thelema and Golden Dawn, mainly ceremonial magic, and I came into Sumerian Babylonian roots, and the current work I do is a metalsmith in the exploration of a text called Liber Astarte. So let me share my screen. Hold on, it's asking me to leave the meeting, I think. Give me one moment, because I have to update Zoom. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. Should we give a little prayer to the God of technology so that we can all be smiled upon during this festival in whatever name you call them?
It's always something, but at least it's been minor.
Yeah. All good. It just reminds us that we that we are human and operating on the heavy physical plane. And I hope everyone sticks around for the next speaker, who is our keynote after Janice, Irving Finkel. We're all super excited that he will be speaking to us about his experience writing the Mesopotamian Ghost book, which I hope will be pretty fun. I think it sounded pretty fun. I have not met him, so I don't know, but we are excited.
The book is fun too.
Oh, you've read it? Cool. We're just waiting for Janice to update her Zoom so that she can share her screen. And then we will move into the next thing. Hope everyone's having a good time, relaxed. I feel very relaxed. There she is. She's back.
Trying again now. Let's see if it lets me share. Okay, looks like that worked successfully. Okay, so Babylonian magic. As I was saying, when I started upon this journey, my background was in Thelema and in the Golden Dawn, and I was in the middle of there's a text that Crowley wrote called Liber Astarte, and Liber Astarte is a devotional text towards a love deity, and it could be any deity that you chose in any pantheon. And the whole point of that is supposed to be to get you closer to what he called your holy guardian angel, your higher self, in the form of devotion, prayer, meditation, specifically inspired by deities that have been venerated and honored by other traditions. So I went through the whole list of your traditional deities, Aphrodite, Eros, and none of them really spoke to me until I came upon Ishtar and Nana. And at that point, I didn't really know much about the Sumerian cosmology, Babylonian magic. I didn't really have any background. My family's Catholic, so I I don't really know exactly why I was drawn to her, but at that point I felt like, to me, energetically, she felt very different. And I think, so this document is trying to look at maybe what roots did ceremonial magic have with traditional Babylonian texts, and try to piece it all together, right? So where did this tradition of magic come from at its source? So the strength of my God completes my own. And Babylonian magic is the source of all traditions. Ceremonial, known right now as ceremonial magic. It's one of the first recorded in human history because they invented writing. So it's one of the earliest. And the magic, I would say the magical current starts from that as its main source. And today we'll be looking at some texts that they've found that have references to magic in them. The Udug Hul, the Surpu, the Maqlu, and other ancient tablets. So what is magic? This is magic in terms of what did Babylon, when we say magic, what did the Babylonians think of when they thought about magic, right? So to compare to what we think about modern day, for us, it's modern day white magic, which is healing, protective, something positive. In ceremonial magic, we don't really have the terminology black or white. However, the aim of that type of magic is to gain knowledge about the self and gain knowledge about the world around us. And the self meaning your true self, right? So who are you before you came into the influences of society, your family, your friends, what people thought you should be like, what the world expected of you, right? All these impressions other people have put upon us. Who is that really on the inside? And is that really who I am, right? So for the Babylonians, we term it as modern day white magic. It was used to drive away demons. So there was a belief that if you became physically sick, mentally ill, etc., that was caused by a demon interfering with what you're doing day to day. It was also caused by sin, the bad effects of sinful action. So they also had a belief that there was a strata of society, and there were things that you ought to do, you should be doing in order to have a harmonious dealings with yourself and with the world around you. Counteract the effects of ill omens. So they also believed in divination and omens in regarding to liver. So they would, the divination priests would slaughter an animal, and they would pull the entrails, and they would read, you know, that in that liminal moment between life or death when the animal's being sacrificed, they believed that there were certain truths that were evident, truths seen and unseen, they could reveal by reading the entrails and sort of going into the state, right? Increasing sexual potency through sacred prostitution and ritual sex, incurring the favor of a loved one. So there was also the belief that, again, if you were harmonious towards your actions, towards everybody around you, towards the gods, that all of this would help you have a more harmonious and more peaceful existence. And they also believed in hostile sorcery. So the opposite, if you made an enemy, or if you people were jealous of you, then they believed that somebody might want to cause you ill will because they don't like you. So for them, magic was more pragmatic, in a more practical, day-to-day, everyday sense. Mesopotamian worldviews. So they believe that demons can cause illnesses in the world. They believe that humans can sin, and the word sin can be interpreted differently in many different disciplines. So the Babylonian idea of sin was anything that's incurring punishment by negative actions, things that are seen as socially taboo, or anything disrupting harmony and order within society or within your place in the world. The thelemic viewpoint of sin is, and some other, like, left-hand path places will think of this too, is sin is anything that's not true to yourself. So whatever you know, your core values, your core identity, maybe whoever you really are on the inside, anything that is going against that is considered a sin, right? The Babylonian worldview was also that humans can bewitch other humans. Again, you can again, having to do with the favor of others, or the, you know, the opposite, the favor or the disfavor of other people. And ill omens, when they are found either through liver divination or through celestial signs by watching the heavens, they believe that this can be averted. So it's kind of like, okay, well, this is happening and it kind of sucks, but you know, let's see how we can mitigate it, deal with it the best way, and just adapt to it the best way that we can. And they believe that the future was ever changing. You know, nothing was really set in stone. You know, even if you had negative omens and everybody was jealous of you, everybody hated you, and you got really, really sick, physically ill maybe, that even though it's not the best experience, we can still work with that, right? That can still be transformative on some level. So, you know, magic to them was also kind of like, well, this is what we've got, right? How can we just make the best of our situation right now? So sin, we talked about this. Sin is anything disruptive of the natural world order. Crowley stated that sin is a general statement or definition of sin or error, and whoever that binds the will, hinders or diverts it is sin. So Crowley also had the concept about will being the trajectory that's natural to yourself, right? So if you were, for example, naturally going to be a good athlete, your trajectory might be you're drawn towards sports, you know, but if your mom makes you want to be a doctor and you don't want to be a doctor, that, you know, that might be something that's antagonistic to what you're supposed to be doing, or what's best suited to you, right? Best suited to your predisposition or your nature. Rejection of what is natural or what is true to one's nature, resulting primarily in alienation from one's instincts, a splitting off of consciousness from certain basic facts of the psyche. So the belief also was that if you're not really in touch with who you are, what you like, your strengths, then you kind of follow, hey, society says I should be this, and you know, my parents say I should be this. As you progress doing that, eventually you will come to not really know yourself, and you'll become to be alienated from yourself, right? And sometimes you see this case where people will go through life and then they'll have everything they're supposed to have, but they'll say, you know, I'm unhappy, my life feels empty, I don't know what's going on. You know, I have all this material wealth and you know, everything says I should be happy, but something is missing. A lot of times people will turn to religion or magic, right? Because then they kind of like don't know what that is. And I think part of that could be losing touch with your trajectory or your will, right? Your will being, what should I be doing that best suits myself in my existence right now? And sin allows us to distinguish between magic, which is seen as more beneficial, and sorcery, which is seen as more negative. This quote is from the Maqlu, and it talks about, well, let's read it. So, pure oven, great daughter of Anu, inside whom the fire of the grave is flaring, inside whom the valiant fire god has taken up residence, whose flames have reached the sky. Burn, set alight, incinerate my witch. May my warlocks and witches' life swiftly, quickly come to an end. Okay, so in these sentences, we talk about, one, there's reference of Anu, the sky god, the father of the gods. So there's reverence, there's prayer, there's the invocation of an authority greater than myself, who I've imbued with belief and devotion. There's references to fire, but fire as a purifying, right? So you're talking about the fire of the grave. You're invoking the fire god, and you're purifying in terms of I have an enemy, my enemy is now using magic against me, now my life is falling apart, right? So this fire will help purify and sort of kind of nullify anything negative that's being kind of negative magic that's used towards me. So sorcery. So now we're talking about sorcery and the Babylonian belief in sorcery. So sorcery is what modern day called black magic or antagonistic or hostile magic. The Akkadian word for sin is Arnu, and it's seen as a sort of their belief was the manifestation of this could be some sort of ailment or illness created by unwillingly infringing taboos or committing sinful acts going against the laws of nature or society. So this is the belief that if you had a certain role in society and you kind of went against that, you would cause enemies, you would make life harder for yourself, you would possibly end up in prison, you know, it would incur a lot of negative repercussions. And that magic back then was used to harm another. They had a strong belief in this, and it was taken so seriously that it was punishable by death. So if you were caught doing sorcery, you know, that was taken very seriously back then. This is a text from the old Babylonian period, which talks about the Udug and the Gala. So may the evil Udug and the evil Gala stand aside. May the good Udug and good Gala be present. Udug.
Oh, I'm sorry, Janice, there's a question in the chat that
Yes.
what are the Sumerian words for witch and warlock?
I'm not sure, but I can probably look that up and get back to you. I don't know what it is at the moment.
No worries.
Okay. So Udug is considered spirits, I believe, or a general term for spirits, and they could be evil or good. And Gala, I believe, are underworld spirits. So here the text is addressing the full pantheon of their belief system of what kinds of spirits we had. We had bad ones, right? And then we had good ones. So they're requesting the good ones to be present and requesting the bad ones to sort of stand aside. Okay, so now we're looking at the Udug Hul. And the Udug Hul is the canon of Mesopotamian exorcism. Udug, we talked about this earlier, Udug is a class of demons, spirits, use the word demon loosely. Spirits, sometimes thought it was good, sometimes thought it was evil, so the general classification of spirits. And for exorcisms, you could invoke a good Udug for provide protection, and for exorcisms, if you were for negative spirits, it'd be the evil Udug. And the evil Udug was blamed for physical or mental illnesses. So here is some type of incantations in Mesopotamian magic. Ones, they speak to demons directly. So the ones harming you, you would be speaking to them directly. You could use them to protect a human from being attacked. You can aid in medical incantations, and you can address cultic objects being used in ritual. So for speaking to demons directly. So here for speaking to demons directly, the magician legitimizes himself as a representation of the god possessing divine right. So earlier we looked at the reference to Anu. So the magician was able to call upon Anu as a protector. Divine right meaning this deity speaks on behalf of me, right? So I have authority, if you will, to speak to so the demon will obey me because I am speaking, you know, I'm going through Anu and I'm kind of going through the right channels, right? So that was their belief in the cosmology and how you should interact with demons. So modern day ceremonial magic, this could be seen in modern day invocation, which is invoking an entity into yourself, or evocation, just evoking it outside of yourself. And they always say in ceremonial magic that you have divine authority, meaning you're not reliant upon anything else to give you any, in terms of ritual and magic, you're not reliant upon anything else except for really yourself. And that would be the transmission of the will of God, right? So the Bornless One is a ritual where these entities are invoked, and you're kind of laying dominance or laying claim over, okay, this is what gives me the authority to speak to this demon that's causing me ill because I'm a, you know, because I have divine right, because I have connections to these entities and I come in faith. And I would say it's very different from some other traditions, in that there's a personal assertion of, I would say, of strength and of authority. So this is a quote from the Bornless One. Thee I invoke, the Bornless One, thee that didst create the earth and the heavens, thee that didst create the night and the day, thee that didst create the darkness and the light. So this is usually used in terms of the HGA ritual, or again, communing with your higher self. And again, you're not using anyone else. It's you, meaning you have divine right. I'm not going through the chain of command, right? By virtue of being myself, by virtue of being connected to God or these entities, I am invoking this on my own playing field, right? So this is from the Udug Hul, tablets 3 to 5. And this is a priest of Enki is speaking. So it says, I am high priest of Ea, the prince of the Apsu who commissioned me. I cast the Eridu spell. Be adjured by Dingirsu, lord of the scepter. I hold Anu's exalted Eriwud scepter in my hand. May Mesanga Unu, Kulab's herald, go behind me, in order for the good spirit to go on my right, for the good genius to go on the left. Then Gistiana, the exalted scribe of the netherworld, recites the pure incantation and liturgy in front of me. Be adjured by Dingirsu, lord of the weapon. So in this text, if we look through it, the first is the claimants on authority, right? So under whose authority? It says, I, the high priest of Ea, right? So this is my role. I'm devoted to Enki, right? This is who I represent. This is who I am. The prince, who is Enki, the prince of the Apsu, the source of magic, the realm which Enki lives in, right? I cast the Eridu spell. Eridu is one of the cities that Enki, each city had like a patron deity, and Eridu's patron deity was Enki. So, and then be adjured by Ningirsu, lord of the scepter. So here it's going through the chain of commands, right? And it's explaining, this is why I have authority. This is which deity that I'm linked to, right? I'm holding the scepter, which is linked to Ningirsu. I'm holding a different scepter, which is linked to Anu. And so it's using these god names to invoke certain entities so that the world is ordered according to how it should be. So if you look, it says in order for the good spirit to go on my right, the good genius to go on the left. This is a very traditional, in ceremonial magic, when you order your ritual temple, you're not just ordering your space, you're ordering yourself, and you're ordering the world, because the world will now fall into place based on the ordering of the self, right? So in the ritual chamber, this is how they were setting up this place, and this is how they were sort of organizing it so it would be more harmonious, right? They're asking for the good geniuses to go here. They're talking about pure incantation or pure speech, and we'll go into this later. And liturgy, teachings, usually liturgy has to do with books or readings. And then be adjured by Ningirsu, lord of the weapon. So a weapon, some disciplines will have a dagger. Again, it's authority, also representative of the intellect, the mind, and also back then, when you think about weapons and how life was more back then, a weapon gave you, if you had a weapon, you could defend yourself. If your town was being attacked, you could go off and get food for your family. So maybe modern day we're a little bit more distance, right, from the idea of a weapon, because it's, none of us have weapons, hopefully not day to day. But back then, this was all very part of life. This is practical life, right? So I'm ordering myself, I'm ordering my ritual chamber, my temple, because I have authority under Enki, and and hopefully by this, the world starts to reorder itself around myself and my harmony, right? In reflection of the life that I should be having. Okay, so this is for protecting a human from being attacked. So these are the links in the Udug Hul and the lesser key. So the lesser key in ceremonial magic talks about that has to do with the Goetia or the chthonic entities, and you have a ritual where you would call upon each entity and then sort of subdue them, right? And then make a demand, ask for your petition or your request based on what each goetic spirit was subscribed to. So the Udug Hul also has something similar. The demons are first described, they're asked to come peacefully, and then you make your request of whatever they're doing or you don't want them to do, and then you give them a license to depart, which is I've called you, now you're here, now this is what I want you to do, maybe this is our trade or this is our payment, so to speak. And then license to depart would be like, okay, go in peace until we need you again, go and don't harm whatever it is you're trying to do, right? So this invocation is from the lesser key, which says, I do invocate and conjure thee, O spirit, and ceremonial magic are very important. A name, couple of reasons, right? A name meant that you could identify which spirit something was. And also, if you looked at the actual name, the origin of these entities, it would tell you a lot about which entity that answers to this type of name. So I do invocate and conjure thee, O spirit, by him who spake and it was done, and unto whom all creatures be obedient. Come thou peacefully, visibly, and affably now, and without delay, manifesting that which I desire. So the first part is a description and the name, which has to do with the spirit and all the offices of the spirit, as they called, or everything assigned. And the next part is authority. In this case, authority is by him who spake, God, and it was done unto whom all creatures be obedient, meaning if I come in God's path, all creatures are obedient to him, therefore all of you will be obedient to me, right? So I have divine right, by coming in and doing this from a magical standpoint. And it says, come peaceably, with nothing negative, visibly. So here you're asking entities to come in as what they call as close to visible manifestation, and affably, so in peace. And then after this, you'll have some kind of request. So this is from the Udug Hul, which states, the evil Utuku demons are spawned from the seed of Anu. Namtaru, fate, beloved son of Enlil, is born of Erishkigal. They are offspring of earth, spawned by the seed of Anu. You may not sit up in this chair, nor may you lie in his bed, nor go up to his roof, nor enter his dwelling. They must not cross the circumference of the door jamb, nor cross the threshold. So here you have a similar construct when you look at the Udug Hul as we had before in the lesser key. So the first part is a description. So the description is, the demons that are called the Utuku demons, they're evil. They're origins that they're spawned from Anu, and that these are their links to the gods, right? So they're linked to Namtaru, which is fate, who's the son of Enlil, who holds the tablets of destiny, who's born of Erishkigal. They're the offspring of the earth, as spawned by the seed of Anu. So these are the meaning of this text, is that the divine authority is because these entities are born of these gods, right? And you're coming as an emissary, giving yourself divine right to request or to speak to them. So the next part is a request. may not sit in his chair, nor may use bed. So now they're talking about this evil Utuku demon being in the house of this person who's ill. And they're saying, okay, you can't, and they're just being very specific. The way being specific and being very direct. And this comes from the belief that with entities, you have to be very specific. You have to be very clear with them, that they may not think the same way that we do. And the secondary meaning is that your subconscious, when you speak to your subconscious, you have to speak to it very plainly and very clearly, right? The subconscious speaks in symbols. So anything large and convoluted might be too much. So the simpler, the easier, the more direct, you know, they also say don't use negatives, don't say you will not or you do not. This case does it, but as you can see, the phrasing of this is very clear, right? You may not sit in the chair, you may not lie in the bed, you may not go into the roof, you may not enter the dwelling, you may not cross the circle. So it's very clear as to where and where this entity may or may not exist, right? And this also helps compartmentalize the healing happenings of the person who's being afflicted. It helps like clarify what needs to happen and what doesn't need. And this is the very end. This is to the part which is at the very end where you're, so now you're done. So you've invoked the entity. So this is from the lesser key, and it says, "O thou spirit N," because spirit name. So, "O thou spirit, because thou hast diligently answered to my demand and hast been very ready and willing to come at my call. I do here license thee to depart unto thy proper place without causing harm or danger unto man or beast." So this just says, hey, you showed up and you know you decided to listen to my petition. So now you can leave in peace without harming me or anybody else. That's just like a way of closing out, you know, what we've been doing. Okay, so for aiding in medical incantations, so the narrative section is absent, but the ritual procedure is recorded and abstracted separately. For addressing cultic objects used in ritual, cultic objects, so this could be anything you make, shrine, your ritual chamber, any kind of statue, any kind of like offering. Incantations can also be addressed to the cultic objects being used. And purity in this case means singleness, the designation of an item for only one singular purpose. And this helps, okay, so this occurs in three ways. One is a purification of the magician himself. Next is of his instruments. And third is of his place of working. So it helps the mind distinguish between what is ritual, right? What is sacred space and what is ordinary life, right? So if I'm using a chalice or a grail, right, for offering or for my ritual, I can't be using that to like have breakfast, dinner, to go, you know, to serve my guests, right? I'm only using this for ritual. It also helps me, it helps sync the mind up, right? So when you see that chalice, you see that grail, you're like, okay, now I'm doing magic, right? I'm only using this for these. I'm only using this for this purpose. It helps amplify energetically all the emotional ties, right, and mental ties you have with this object. So that's in reflection of the magician himself. So by that I mean the work that you're doing, the ritual work that you're doing it's reflective of yourself, reflective of the magician, and reflective of the type of work it is, right? You know, meaning it's focused, you're not distracted, you're not thinking about other things. Same thing with your instruments. Your instruments are, you know, only using this for ritual purposes, and that's it. And it's very separate from profane, right? The sacred is very separate from my day-to-day life. And thirdly is the place of working. You know, it helps if you have like a place in your house or even a place you go to outside if you don't have a place in your house that you associate with magic, or that to you you identify with divinity, because it also helps. So the subconscious, hey, we're not, we're not hanging out. We're not just like in. It helps you create a sacred space, mentally, physically.
There's another question.
Yes.
Lindsay, do you want to ask your question or you want me to read it?
Can you read it? Thanks.
Okay, so it says, him who spake, is that God? Which God? Is it Anu or Enki or someone else? Does it depend who you are working with? Or is him who spoke one specific God?
I think, hold on, I think that's from the lesser key, right? Him who spake. If it's from the lesser key, I can't find it, but if it's from the lesser key, then him who spake would be the Christian God, because, oh, sorry, here it is, the lesser key. So by him who spake and it was done. So the lesser key is of the Solomonic tradition, and this would be like Christian magic. So if you were a Christian magician doing the lesser key, that would be your Christian God, because you're Christian. If you're adapting it to modern day, it's whichever deity that you come in authority of, right? So that could be adapted, but that was what they had, that was just like the framework they had in the lesser key. And that's just to show, yep, and that's just to show the parallel between Solomonic traditions and the grimoires had like the setup, right? They had like this description, and they had like their deity, and then the Udug Hul has like a similar kind of setup. Oh. Okay, I'm looking. Okay, we did this. Him who spake. Oh, I must have missed this one, but I'll read it now because it says, to your step, take your, I'm guessing the step is like a desert area, or like not here, right? Not where you're at, not this house or your house, or this house. Take your leather pouch, take your food offerings, take your leather bag. Do not keep standing in corners, nor constantly sit in nooks. Stop circling the victim, or whoever's sick, right? The victim, the whoever you're doing this magic for, in the dark, in the middle of the city, or surrounding himself, or surrounding him in the outskirts, but go off to the bottom of the netherworld. Okay, so in this tablet, it tells the evil demon to basically go away, right? The leather patch, I'm guessing, is something they made for this entity. It's kind of like, okay, I don't know what you want, but here, if you take this and you'll leave me alone, and we'll give you some food, and then you leave us alone and we'll give you this. So they also believed in sort of placating these evil entities by saying, here, if we'll just give you this, then that would be enough, and you no longer need to come here and persecute this person who's obviously suffering. So this is where we don't want you, right? We'll give you this, and in return, you're not going to be hanging around this person who's now being persecuted and is now physically sick, but this is where we want you to go, and we basically paid you to go there, right? So this is like the transactional, practical value of magic in their minds. Okay, cultic object. Okay, this is from Psalm 51. Bible was a very important part of Christian magic. So it says, purge me with hyssop and I shall be clean. Wash me and I shall be whiter than snow. So hyssop is a plant that's linked to cleansing. It's a very purifying kind of plant. And again, this phrase talks about purity. There's references to cleanliness and washing and purging and being whiter, meaning the real meaning of this is really make me focused and single-minded in my task, right? So you can't be distracted, things, whatever. Invocation of using all these plants and these metaphors to help do that. A life is Levi, exorcism of the water. This is an exorcism thing. They talk about water. It says, I exorcise the creature of water. that thou mayest become unto men a mirror of the living God and his works, a fount of life and abolition of sins. So again, this is the same framework. This is the same framework that we talked about earlier with the references to purification and water. So this one, it explicitly states, I exercise thee, right? So it's stating, okay, this is what we're doing, right? I'm exercising you, whatever you're doing, we don't want you to do this anymore. Creature of water, so you're naming it as, you're linking it to the elements, but also linking it to creation, right? So a creature of water means something that's natural, something that's in the world. And it's next part is it's telling it that you may become unto men a mirror of the living God. So instead of being whatever negative thing you are right now, now you're a mirror of God, you're a fount of life, and you're abolition, like a negation of sins, right? So now you've become something purifying, and you're going to reflect the divine presence instead of being something negative. This is from the Udug Hul, tablet 7. The water of an Asamu vessel, toss tamarisk and mastakal into it, and put the Eridu incantation into that water. Sprinkle that man with water, and pass the censer and torch over him. Scatter the zizuru flower of the magic circle at the outer gate. Sprinkle the zibu dubu flower at the door of the patient's house and at the doorbolt. Take some aromatic cedar oil and apply it to the patient's body. So, okay, so here we have like a recipe of a ritual, and the water of an Asamu vessel, I'm guessing that would be a vessel specifically used to hold water for purification. Tamarisk and mastakal, I believe, are like things used to cleanse, similar to like baking powder nowadays, but like they would mix it with the water and use it to cleanse ritually. And then put the Eridu incantation into that water. So saying bless it, right? So bless it with the power of with Enki, right, with the divine authority. So now you would take this holy water that you've made, right, or blessed water that you made, you sprinkle the person's being afflicted over it, and then you would pass the censer. So the censer, somebody burns incense. So now so incense, you have fire and air, and then the torch, you have fire, right? So again, the purifying, these are the purifying aspects of fire that we talked about earlier, and the purifying aspects of water and air. So now you're invoking the elements to help purify this person who's sick. Scatter the zizuru flower. So they would also have this practice where you'd take flour and you would kind of create a perimeter with a flower. That the belief being it helps to think of this place sacred, because now there's like a perimeter, and you would see this in a lot of other traditions where you'd invoke the LBRP, you invoke the archangels, and you created like a circle around you. You would physically do it, but you would also mentally think of it as like extending outside of yourself. Then they're also talking about extending this flower and taking it towards the door and like the window, the door bolt. So the perimeter of this person's house, right? So this place that's sacred, and this is the boundaries of the place that's holy, which is now your home. And then some cedar oil, cedar being a wood that was sacred to the gods traditionally back then. So you would take this oil that was sacred and then sort of anoint this person with this oil. So again, these are all the so it's purification of the person who's sick, right? You're anointing you're sprinkling this person with water, purification of the physical place you're at. So here it's like the outer gate, the door, and then also the person's body with the oil. So purification on many like different levels. So this is from the Surpu. So the Surpu has to do with, there is a belief that sin, too much sin would cause negative repercussions in your life and illness. So the Surpu is sort of like a cleansing of the sin, right? So it says, my illness, my weariness, my guilt, my crime, my sin, my transgression, the illness that is present in my body, my flesh and my veins, be peeled off like this garlic, so that the fire god, the burner, consumes it today. May the curse leave so I may see the light. So here you have an example of sympathetic magic. So be peeled off like this garlic. I'm assuming this ritual they actually had garlic, right? And they would like ceremoniously sort of peel it off. So what they're saying is, the sin And when they say sin, they're saying everything I may have done. What's the phrase they use? Everything I have done and everything I've failed to do, right? So sin for them wasn't just like, okay, I was supposed to have this job or whatever, this role in society, and I kind of didn't do it right, so that's my sin. It's also maybe I should have done something and I have no idea what it was, but because I failed to do it, I didn't do it properly, and I don't know what it is, it doesn't mean it's not a sin, right? So it's sort of apologizing for everything that I may have done wrong, but also maybe I didn't do something quite right, but I have really no idea what it is. So let's just kind of like apologize for all of it, right? Whatever I didn't or did do right. Let's just apologize for all of it, and then transfer it as garlic, right? So you're ceremonially, peeling it, and then you're kind of giving it to the fire god, right? So the fire is now purifying or burning the sin so the person can get better. Okay, Surpu. Okay, so Surpu means burning, and it's a series of rituals to counteract a mamitu or a curse. So the Surpu had like a long confession of sins, ritual offenses, breaches of taboo, offenses against moral or social order, or acts that may have offended the gods. And so the first part of the Surpu is just kind of just like listing everything that I may have done wrong, in addition to everything that maybe I didn't do, but I didn't know that I didn't do them. So we'll just list all that stuff too. So it's just a kind of like a litany, right, of sins. And it's a series of purification rituals that serve to atone for the sin, in contrast to Maqlu, which is used to counteract black magic. Okay, so all possible sins for, and they're exhaustively enumerated, including the effects of a broken oath. We'll talk about that later, but oaths were taken very seriously in Babylonian magic. If you said you were going to do something, that wasn't just you saying it. Now you've taken that thing and put it into motion, right? So not physically backing that up with action, right, is kind of like destroying the trajectory of something you've created by your word. So that's their belief on broken oaths. We'll go into a little bit of that later. So some examples of the Surpu, or some things they talk about, were the patient would peel onions into the fire. They would strip dates from a branch into the fire, or unravel wool into the fire. So it's all physical things that you're doing, and you're transferring the sin into this, whatever you had on hand, right? This thing, and then you're kind of throwing that into the fire. You're burning it and you're purifying it. So in this way, fire is used as an act of consecration. The patient is actively dedicating himself to be a pure temple of God. So first you'll have the purification. So purification is making yourself clean, and then consecration is dedicating for one specific purpose. Okay, so this is from Liber ABA Crowley. It says a real magical oath cannot be broken. You think it can, but it can't. So the meaning of this is, if you take, if you utter something, if you use words and utter something with enough will, with enough intention, it sets something into motion, whether in yourself or others. And subconsciously or not, you may think you can change it, but really you can't. Or whatever that's been uttered has been so deeply ingrained, it has consequential effects by just that utterance, right? So it's the importance of the spoken word, and intent, and actions that end up lining up with that intent. Okay, so the magical oath. So in any society, it is customary to formalize agreements, statements, or evidence by oaths, and to punish those who break or renege against their oaths. In Babylonian society, it was normal to swear by the life of the gods. It's also common in magical conjurations, where the long list of gods were invoked against demons, as we saw earlier in the exorcism, where all of these gods were cited, right, against having a certain scepter or having certain tools or traits that they would have to be used to be invoked against demons. So kings were seen as extension of gods and having divine right. And God and King was the standard oath that closed Babylonian business dwellings. So this again talks about the practice of magical oaths and ceremonial magic, meaning the belief that the word and the spoken word itself has the power to start the trajectory of actions, including divine actions. So broken oaths, right? A mamitu means an oath or a ban. And in Akkadian, it's impossible to separate the oath from the curse, meaning if I've uttered that I'm going to do something, or uttered that something's going to be a certain way and I don't follow through, or it doesn't happen that way, then I've sort of invoked a curse by not following through. So if one takes an oath and then violates the terms of the oath, he is subject to a curse. Dire psychological and physical penalties were foretold for those who broke oaths. And it was believed that the very swearing of an oath, and even more so the breaking of an oath, generated supernatural powers which might turn against the wearer and the swearer, and the form from which he needed to be protected by magic. So it's basically saying that if you took it upon yourself to swear an oath, and you felt the need to do so, and then for whatever reason you decide to break that oath or not follow through, then just by the nature of oaths, you really can't do anything else about it, right? So meaning if you're going to make an oath, make it count, or else there are going to be consequences, seen and unseen. So this is magical oaths in the ceremonial magic aspect. So magical oaths generally bind the self to the self. What does that mean? So usually it's a physical utterance, right? So it's something I'm saying out loud. I'm saying it to myself, but really what I'm doing is I'm embedding that deed into my subconscious as if it's already happened, so I may enact it upon the world. Let me think of an example, so this will help make sense, right? So say you say to yourself, I'm going to be more healthy. I'm going to the gym, 2 times a week. So by saying this out loud, right? First of all, you formalize that want, right? So there's that want of wanting to be healthy and wanting to go to the gym. You formalize it to yourself by saying it out loud. Next is subconscious will work upon that. So now you'll start to think upon, okay, now we have to go to the gym. So we have to find a gym that we can go to. We have to find a time and a place that works for us. We have to figure out how much it costs, right? What do I wear when I go to the gym? What am I going to do when I get there? So all of these like minute things that are involved with this greater goal all kind of line up, right? So what happens when you break that? What happens when, granted, going to the gym is not necessarily a magical oath, but just to illustrate a point, what happens when you break that? So say you decide, okay, it's 6 a.m. Wednesday, and I said I was going to go to the gym. I just don't feel like it, so I don't go, right? And so you decide to not go the entire week, right? Which is contrary to what you said you would do. The outcome would be okay. You haven't gotten healthier. There hasn't been any action to follow through on this, and you kind of haven't adapted it, right? So whatever positive outcome you would have had by following through with the oath has now been negated or nullified.
Janice, I just want to give you a time check that it's 5 to the hour.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so
No, that's okay.
I'll try to get through as much as I can, but we've gotten through. There's a lot more to this. It's about maybe half, but thank you though. I'll just get through as much as I can and then stop. I guess just let me know when it's like a 1 minute before maybe. So thanks. Okay. Okay, so magical oaths, they generally bind the self to the self. It aligns the individual will with the universal will, backing the inertia of the universe to move towards the direction of the oath. Okay, so in the example of the gym, right? So I've now declared I will go to the gym twice a week. What happens as a result of that? Maybe now when I'm going to work, I'm more aware of, okay, I'm looking for a gym. I should be going to the gym. I should join one. Maybe I'll be more aware if I see a sale, or if I see, a free gym membership I can try to do. So that's like the universe kind of, the universe hasn't changed because you want to go to the gym. But now what's happened is you yourself have become more aware of that need. And so you're sort of subconsciously finding things that help you get that goal. You may mention it to a friend and say, I want to be more healthy. I see you go to the gym every day. Can you help me out? Maybe they can give you some info. So the belief is that the spoken word is very powerful and it has the power to create. And as an oath, it creates a hermetically sealed vessel that both protects and seals the work. So by saying it, right, by sort of committing to that, you've created now an environment that gives you the right trajectory or gives you the right momentum to have whatever you've oathed upon happen. Else. I think maybe we'll do like the next one with a magic circle, then maybe we'll stop. So I'm trying to look for good. Oh, there's 5 rights. This might actually now. I'm sorry, I didn't realize how long this was. I might actually stop here. We've gone to about halfway, but there's a little bit more, but that'd be like a future thing. Just because I feel like it's a lot. There's a lot more, but I feel like now it's a good natural stopping point.
Okay, so sounds like you're going to be giving the other half next year.
Yeah, I didn't intend
Just
on it, but yeah, I'll definitely be giving some elaboration. I didn't realize how long it was, everyone. So sorry if that was a little bit quick, but I was trying to get through it and I thought I would, but it's
wonderful. And I think there've been a couple of requests for your slideshow. So I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing that with people or if you want them to get in touch with you if they want a copy of it.
No, I don't usually give those out, but we can
Okay.
talk about it.
Well, Amara, I think maybe we should have Janice do her full presentation another day for our YouTube channel.
That's a great idea if you'd be open to that.
Yes, please. That would be great.
Sure. Yeah, and does anyone have any comments on I know we went a little bit quickly on the first few parts, but does anyone have anything else they want to see or anything else we didn't cover, or anything else they read about that hey, I read about this and I saw this. Anything else they want to mention?
I will just say Surpu. We use that in our language as peppery or heat. So,
okay.
So we say to a little kid like we do here, of course, as well. We'll put Surpu on your lishana, or you swore, so you can't say that. And then also when the elders, when they swear or make an oath, bi Allah bishimit bruni, I swear an oath to the name and the life of my son and my, all the things that are dear to me, that this is the truth and I'm going to do that, or that will happen, or things like that. So it's interesting to see that come down the lineage from our ancient civilization. So thank you so much. I'm so excited about what you shared and learning and collaborating with you. Thank you.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I guess even in the vernacular, hearing that sounds really intense, right? I feel like in American culture, our oaths are sort of less dramatic, but yeah, it definitely gets the point across. That's something to be taken very seriously, right? When you start invoking things you care about and divinity with that.
Thank you so much, Janice. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Hey, thank you.